Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today we're looking at something that sounds kind of like a paradox.
Yeah.
Future
Sure.
archaeologies. Right? Like we always think about archaeology, like
Mm.
digging into the past. But what if we could dig into the future?
Yeah, that's exactly what this research paper that we're
Okay.
diving into is proposing. It's
Yeah.
all about, like you said, flipping that script and
Yeah,
using
sure.
archaeological tools to look at potential futures, especially those that seem a little bit out there.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah,
hold on.
yeah.
What about the stuff that seems
Yeah.
impossible, the really crazy ideas?
Mhm.
Could there be something valuable in that?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. The paper argues that by looking at these outlandish ideas,
Right.
we can actually gain some really valuable insights into the present
Right.
and prepare for the unexpected. Like, think about it for a second.
Yeah.
Self-driving cars,
Right.
smartphones,
Yeah.
those were all considered pretty preposterous at one point, too.
Okay. I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So how does this futures cone model fit in?
Okay.
They mentioned that in the paper, too.
Mm.
And I'm picturing a cone, but not like an ice cream cone. More like a...
More like a roadmap of possibilities.
Okay.
You're exactly right. The futures cone
Yeah?
is a visual model to help us map different types of futures. It traditionally includes probable, plausible, possible futures based on likelihood, but this research adds another dimension to it.
Huh?
Preposterous futures.
So it's like saying, hey, let's not limit ourselves to what's likely.
Exactly.
Let's throw in those wild cards and see what we get.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
And the paper actually argues that that's crucial.
Okay.
By venturing into the preposterous, we open our minds up to way more possibilities
Really?
and potentially uncover ideas that could shape the future in ways that we never even expected. It's a way of breaking free from all those assumptions that can trap our thinking.
That's intriguing.
Yeah.
How do we actually do that? Explore those preposterous futures. What did the research suggest?
Well, they came up with this really cool hands-on method called the Future Archeologies Method. It's designed to spark imagination and encourage a different kind of critical thinking.
All right. I'm intrigued now. I bet it's a little more involved than just daydreaming about flying cars.
Oh, yeah. Definitely more structured than that. The method's brilliance really lies in its 4 stages.
Okay.
It starts with jolting you out of your comfort zone with what they call the future mystery bag.
Okay, now that has my attention. A future mystery bag. What is that? A crystal ball?
Well,
A time machine?
that's the mystery. It's an unidentified object that represents future remains.
So instead of digging up artifacts from the past,
Yeah.
we're presented with a potential artifact from the future.
Exactly.
I like it.
And here's the catch.
Okay.
You can only explore this object by touch. You can't actually see it.
Oh, cow.
This tactile experience is designed to ignite your imagination, but without being constrained by pre-existing visuals or ideas.
That's clever.
Yeah.
It forces you to think about it in a different way.
Yeah.
Right? Like the shape, the texture, and the potential uses.
Exactly.
If you couldn't see it, you'd have to think about it differently.
Yeah.
It's like engaging a different part of your brain.
Absolutely. And that's just step 1.
Okay.
Based on their initial speculations about what this mystery object is, participants then move on to create detailed future scenarios.
So they imagine the world, the characters, the technologies that might exist in a future where this object is commonplace.
That's it.
It's like world building, but for the future.
Exactly. They build a whole narrative around it, exploring the social, cultural, and technological implications.
Okay, this is getting interesting. What happens next?
Yeah.
Do they start building time machines?
Not quite. The next stage gets even more hands-on.
Okay.
It's called Artifacts from the Future. Participants take their scenarios and design and prototype actual artifacts that would fit within that world.
Okay, so let's say the mystery object was like a smooth, pulsating orb.
Okay.
They might design a communication device that uses bioluminescence to transmit messages.
That's the idea. The goal is to push the boundaries of their imagination and create something truly innovative, even if it seems preposterous by today's standards.
Okay, right.
It's about thinking outside the box. Yeah. And, it's interesting how even when we're trying to break free from those limitations, our current understanding of technology still kind of shapes what we think of as innovative in the future.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like we're standing on the shoulders of what we know, even when we're trying to leap into the unknown.
So what kind of artifacts did these students design? Did they go full sci-fi or did they stay a little more grounded?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. The paper describes a workshop where they tested this method with design students.
Yeah.
And while the scenarios they came up with were often pretty out there,
the artifacts themselves tended to be a bit more grounded in current technological trends.
So, like, they might envision a world where humans have abandoned physical currency.
Right.
But then design a payment system that's just a super advanced version of contactless payment.
Exactly. The researchers actually think that this might be because, on some level, the students were subconsciously trying to ground those more abstract scenarios by incorporating technologies that felt at least a little bit familiar.
Yeah, like they needed that anchor to reality, even though they were exploring these crazy what-if scenarios.
Yeah.
But even if the artifacts weren't as radical as the scenarios, they were still thinking in really systemic ways, right?
Yes.
What does that even mean in this context?
Okay, so think of it like this. You're not just designing a gadget. You're designing a future where that gadget actually exists.
Okay.
It's a whole different way of thinking.
Right.
Instead of just focusing on individual inventions, they were thinking about how those technologies would fit into larger systems and impact society as a whole.
That makes sense. So that AI-controlled food distribution system.
Exactly.
That's a great example. It's not just a device.
It's a whole network.
Yeah, it's a whole network that influences how people get their food and eat.
Right.
It makes you think about the consequences.
Exactly. Both the intended and the unintended ones.
Yeah. And that kind of thinking is so important when we're dealing with technology.
Absolutely.
It's not just about the shiny new gadget. It's about the ripple effects. Okay. This is making me think about all the ways we try to predict the future, using data and trends and all that.
Yeah.
But this research is saying maybe we should be focused on getting the future right and more on exploring all the different possibilities.
All the what ifs.
Yeah, even the crazy ones.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that even though the students were imagining these far-out futures, their scenarios often reflected a lot of present-day concerns,
Like what?
Like climate change, social inequality, the rapid pace of technology.
It's like those future scenarios became this canvas for projecting their hopes and anxieties about the present.
You got it. They were looking at those anxieties through this futuristic lens, which allowed them to explore potential solutions.
Right. Or at least understand the problems better.
Yeah, it's a way of turning those anxieties into a catalyst for creative problem solving.
Makes you wonder if imagining these outlandish futures actually makes us more adaptable than the present. Like if we can wrap our minds around those crazy scenarios, maybe we're better equipped to handle the unexpected.
That's an interesting point. It's like we're building up this mental muscle for navigating uncertainty.
Right, and that kind of adaptability is so crucial in a world that's constantly changing.
Absolutely.
This is making me think about how we talk about the future as this big, scary unknown.
Yeah.
But maybe we should be more afraid of repeating the mistakes of the past.
That's a great observation. I think you're right.
Than venturing into the unknown. What do you think?
I think that's a brilliant observation. By looking at the future through this lens of archaeology, we're essentially digging into the past to understand how we got to where we are now, and hopefully create a better future.
It's like we're excavating not just artifacts, but also our own biases, our assumptions, our blind spots. There's so much there.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I'm curious about this future mystery bag.
Okay.
The researchers had some recommendations for how to use it effectively.
They did. They emphasized that the objects you use in the bag should be ambiguous enough to spark a lot of different interpretations. You want something that's going to make people say, what in the world is this thing?
But not just like a simple cube or a sphere.
It needs to have something interesting about it.
Yeah, something to make people think.
Yeah. They recommend using objects with complex shapes, asymmetrical features, or textures that are hard to identify. Think weird, think unexpected, think thought-provoking. The more mysterious the object, the more creative freedom people have to imagine.
And they also talked about the importance of framing the activity in a way that encourages people to suspend their disbelief.
Absolutely. You've got to create that sense of mystery and intrigue to get people to really engage and let their imaginations run wild.
Make it feel like a real journey.
Yeah, like they're holding a piece of the future.
Yeah. This has been such a cool deep dive into a really innovative way of thinking about the future.
I agree.
We've explored the future archaeologies method, the power of embracing the preposterous.
Yeah.
And the idea that thinking about the impossible can help us create a better future.
It's a powerful concept.
Really powerful. Feels like we've only just scratched the surface here.
Yeah.
This future archaeologies method is like a tool for shaking up how we think.
Yeah.
It's not about predicting the future. It's about expanding what's possible.
Absolutely. And sometimes those crazy leaps of imagination can lead to some real-world innovations. Who knows? Maybe someday we'll look back on these preposterous ideas as the seeds of something amazing.
I love that. Like, we're planting a garden of possibilities. And even if some of those seeds don't sprout, the act of planting them makes the soil richer.
That's a great analogy.
What future mystery bag would spark your imagination?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Imagine reaching into that bag, feeling something totally alien.
Yeah.
And then trying to figure out what kind of future it came from.
Right.
It's like this exercise in creativity, critical thinking, and letting go of all our preconceived notions.
You've given me so much to think about. I bet you're already coming up with your own future mystery bag objects. What's in yours?
Well, I can't give away all my secrets.
Okay, fair enough.
But let's just say I'm really interested in a future where technology kind of blurs the lines between the physical and digital worlds. So my bag might have something that feels both tangible and intangible.
Okay.
Something that challenges how we understand what's real.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, as we wrap up this deep dive into future archaeologies, I want to leave you with a final thought.
Okay.
What seemingly impossible or absurd idea might offer valuable insights into the future that you are shaping today? What would you pull out?
What's the question?
Of your future mystery bag? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this journey.
It's been fun.
Into the preposterous.
My pleasure. Remember, the future is not set in stone.
Right.
It's a tapestry woven from our choices, our actions, and even our wildest imaginations.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.
Yes.
And keep diving deep.